Hey everybody, it's Peter, and this is the Nissan Qashqai. Now there are two available here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals right now, and this is actually the older model. But even if you're looking at a newer one and you came across this video because you're looking at a brand new one, this video is for you. I'm going to show you why the Qashqai is great, and even several years before the current model year. This is a 2020 model year. It has a whole bunch of things that you can't always get on a current car. And this is the base level trim with all-wheel drive, yet still it has things that you can't get, and that's why this is a sales success, and it's why you may want to consider it. So in this video, I'm going to try to show you a number of features that the other videos aren't talking about, so you get to know if this car makes sense for you or not. Another great way to see if this car makes sense is to swing by Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals. You can compare this car with the other Qashqai, with all of its competitors of multiple years alongside it, both very, very new and slightly used like this one, to see which one fits you best, and you can compare side by side dealing with the same salesperson at Canada's huggable car dealer. So I want to thank Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals for giving me complete access to their entire vehicle line. Let's get going with this review. So let's talk about what the Qashqai is. First of all, let's talk about what it really is. It really is kind of a replacement for the Sentra, because back in the day, the Sentra was their main selling, just one step up from the smallest vehicle they sold. Now everybody moves to SUVs, and they've got the Qashqai, which fills it out. Now, what is the Qashqai? First of all, Qashqai is a Iranian nomadic tribe that had brave warriors and fancy cloths and stuff, and that's kind of where the name comes from. So it's an interesting name. But basically what this does is replace that small fuel-efficient vehicle for a whole bunch of people who used to buy Sentras, and you know, the Sentra still exists, but it's just not selling in the same volumes. This is the volume seller now, and it really is a good car. It also has a number of safety features, technology features, and just silly things like when you fill the tires with air, you don't need a pressure gauge. It has tire pressure monitors, and when you're filling it, you can set the vehicle to honk when it reaches the appropriate pressure. So little technologies like that have filtered into this car that make it super convenient, but it's also got some dated things in there, like a CD player. If you still want to play CDs, you can, but we'll talk about the technology when we head inside. So first thing I want to talk about is some of the safety features. We're going to do that by focusing up here at the front. So this is a bit of an awkward way to show a vehicle, but you can kind of see the little triangle right up there. Now again, this triangle is making its appearance on more and more vehicles. And what is it? It's a camera. And it does a lot of things for manufacturers, but one of the key things it does is forward collision avoidance. That camera, along with the software inside the vehicle, is capable of seeing vehicles in front of you, and it's capable of helping stop the car in the case of an emergency. So it's not something you should test. I always say test it like you test your airbags. You don't want to test it, but it is capable of helping you stop in the case of, let's say, a vehicle stopped in front of you. So that is becoming more and more standard on more and more vehicles, because one of the things that's required in a safety test is not just that the crumple zones, not just the crash tests do well anymore. It's now required to avoid collisions, and they've been doing this for a while. Again, 2020 model year, you've got that camera there. Where this one's different is a decision that Nissan made that I really agree with. It's really just software to differentiate how much that can do. On some vehicles, it only looks for vehicles in front of you. So it will only automatically brake or warn you of an imminent collision if there's a vehicle in front of you. Nissan steps it up even on this base level Qashqai with pedestrian detection as well. So if someone steps out on the road in front of you or comes out from behind a garbage truck or something like that, there will be a system here that if you're not paying enough attention, or if you don't see them as quickly as you should, the car is capable of seeing pedestrians and the car is capable of stopping for pedestrians. It's really just a software feature that allows it to detect pedestrians as well, but some manufacturers make you step up trim lines or step up model lines to get that pedestrian detection. This one has it built in. Normally when I come around the rear of a vehicle, we talk about trunk space, and we're going to do that in a second here, but you also have little sensors along the bottom here. On a lot of vehicles, and vehicles since like the 2000s have been putting these parking sensors in, and what they do is they progressively beep quicker, so beep, 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 beep as you get closer to things, and a solid beep as you get very close to things. That's what they've been used for in the past. But they've become so reliable that auto manufacturers are now relying on them for safety features as well. And again, in this base model vehicle, this S-trim Qashqai, you end up with an extra feature here. It's a software advantage that, again, allows the vehicle to sense things and is capable of stopping to avoid a collision. Now, I can't promise it always will, because there's various software settings to not always do those things, but this vehicle is capable of avoiding collisions forward and rearward because of things like these sensors. So let's just quickly open the trunk here. We'll take a quick peek in. We'll get a little closer here. Really good sized trunk space. Let's go a little closer and talk about that up close. So one of the things I think we all know with a hatchback type vehicle or a SUV type vehicle is you have a big square opening, which means you can fit large square boxes in that you wouldn't be able to fit in the trunk of something like a Sentra. That's one of the reasons that these SUVs are more popular. So you can see you've got good height here. One of the cool things you have here is there is a spare tire underneath here. Not every vehicle in this class comes with a spare tire anymore. Sometimes they do inflator kits instead, which I still prefer a spare tire. So there is that down here, but you can see the floor can be mounted up top here to be level with the rear panel here. So level with the rear, let me just show you there. Sorry, thought we had it in the shot there. Level with that little latch right here. So it can be level here, or it can be set down like that. When you set it down, you've got a deeper trunk for more things that can still go under this privacy cover. If you need more space still, this privacy cover, of course, lifts and you can fold the seats down. Now, one of the benefits of having the seat this lower is it does give you extra trunk space below the cover, but if you wanted a flat floor to those seats when they're folded down, you just put this in the higher position again, and you can do that. So you have very, very good trunk space in this car for a small, easy to drive car. And one of the big benefits with a crossover is the vehicle is actually shorter than a sedan, but you still have the trunk volume you need. So really good space here in this Qashqai as well. Let's check out the rear seats. So as we approach the rear seats here, this again is not a top level vehicle. So just so we're clear, you're not gonna have every feature that a top level vehicle has, but a lot of vehicles in this class really skip out on rear seat features. Now, this one's not exclusively, or it doesn't avoid that fate. It does not have on this trim here a center armrest, which again, kind of typical for this kind of class, but you know, some do, some don't. Where they do well is on a lot of these trims, especially in the rear seats, they kind of cheap out with the soft touch stuff. So you can see this is still soft touch there, and you have vents back here. You don't normally have vents on this class of car, especially on the entry level versions, but you do have those upper level vents, which is good. No pockets in the seats there. Let me just jump in for a second. We'll show you what it looks like for me, a 6-footer, to sit behind a 6-footer. So one of the key things to doing reviews of vehicles is remembering the class of car that you're in. So it's easy for me to criticize that my legs aren't completely flush on the seat here, but they are well supported for the class of this car. Again, higher end luxury cars, that's fair to complain that some will have a little bit better support. The reality is though, I am a 6-footer sitting, whoops, going the wrong way, sitting behind myself where the driver would sit, and I still have plenty of room. There's plenty of room for my feet to tuck in behind there, and I have good headroom all the way back. So for a smaller car, you can fit easily 2 6-footers behind 6-footers out front. You do have a middle seat here. There are 3 latch systems, tethers for the rear child seats that you can fit in here as well. So you probably won't fit 3 side by side, depending on your car seats, but you can put one in the center or put 2 on the outboard. You've got room to do that. I haven't turned the air on this car yet. I'm starting to sweat. We're gonna go to the front seat, get that air going, and talk about the features out there. Jumping into the front seat is where this car really excels. So we're going to start with just the key fob. Now again, this is a 2020 model. Sometimes newer cars are updated. I have what I have in front of me, and it is the base trim. It does have a remote key fob, but it is the key fob that has the key in there. Now this is nice and compact in your pocket, which I like. Lock and unlock with the horn button. Higher trim levels will give you things like auto start and fully remote keyless entry. This one doesn't have that. All right, let's jump in here. Manual seat, pretty typical for the class, but it is height adjustable, so that can be pumped up or down to raise or lower the seat, and that really is nice. Again, soft touch along here, and a little bit of a contrasting color there. It may not, in fact, it's not showing correctly on camera the color exactly, but you do have some contrast in there, which again, for an entry-level vehicle is quite nice. All right, let's get that key out of my pocket. Let's start this vehicle up, and we'll take a look at some of the features in here. So, again, flip that key here. We're starting with my left hand here because my camera is on the right hand. So let's turn that to the on position, start it up, and let's start looking at some of the features in here. So we're gonna go fully wide angle here for a second and show you that there are a number of buttons down here. The top one's here just to adjust the brightness. Let's get the radio turned down. The top one's up there just to adjust the brightness on your dash. You can reset your trip computer, and then you start getting into some more interesting things. Let's go fully zoomed in here. So this is your safety systems. You can turn them all on or turn them all off. Basically, Nissan packages a bunch of their safety systems into one system, and you can tap that to turn some of these things on or off. So it just shows you that they are now on when that light is on. I recommend when you buy a car like this to keep all the safety systems on and get used to them. So something like the forward collision avoidance. It can also warn you before a collision, and sometimes it'll, like, you know, if a car is sitting there on an exit ramp and you're approaching very quickly because you know they're going to be moving, sometimes it can give you a warning. I advise people to kind of get used to all those beeps that can happen in these modern cars with these safety features, because usually it takes about a week to kind of adapt your driving style and adapt what's going on with your car to get used to those safety features. Once you do that, you end up really benefiting from the safety features. So it's not something I recommend turning off, but you have the ability to turn some of those things off just as a whole, overall, turning everything off. Now you'll see down here, we've got a few different versions or buttons down here. You have an all-wheel drive lock button, which is just like that. So very simple to use, lock on or off. This is an all-wheel drive vehicle that when it slips will activate all four wheels. So one thing to keep in mind is in deep snow, sometimes you just want to lock that four-wheel drive in, and at slow speeds this will do that. Usually speaking, you don't have to lock that in. It's just if you're stuck in snow or that kind of thing, deep snow especially. Otherwise, just let it slip and grip, it'll do its own thing. There's also a sport and an eco mode. Let's talk about sport and eco modes. The sport mode doesn't give you more power. The eco mode doesn't give you better fuel efficiency. But if you're an economical driver anyways, you drive kind of easy on the throttle, this is going to drive the throttle, change the throttle response, where the transmission kind of false shifts. It's a CVT transmission, so where it kind of shifts and how it shifts. It's going to really work well with an economical driver and work with you to get great fuel efficiency. If you have it in sport mode, and you're an economical driver, you'll find that it holds the revs longer, you'll find that the throttle is a little bit more touchy, so it won't work with you. If you are more of an aggressive driver, it's the exact opposite. An eco button will dull the throttle, it will make it feel like it's not very peppy, and if you want it to be a little peppier, you put the sport button. Now, to be fair, the sport button will use more fuel. It's gonna keep those higher revs to keep it feeling powerful, but you have the option to change your drive modes, which is a nice feature. Let's talk about general driving position in this car, and what you have is something that feels very compact sedan-like. So this is, again, not officially replacing the Sentra, but for a lot of buyers who were maybe Sentra buyers in the past, they moved to something like the Qashqai, and you'll find yourself to be very familiar in here. You do sit a little taller, which is what people like, but you're not, certainly not, you know, way up tall. This vehicle does not feel top heavy in any way. You have a tilt and telescopic steering wheel, which is very good here. There's steering wheel controls. We're going to show you all that as well. You have easy reach to the dash here, which again, I've got the wrong hand to show you, but it is easy to reach, all of that stuff there. We'll get a look at that in a second here. But generally speaking, the seat is large enough as well. And that's one of the issues with vehicles in this class. Sometimes they downsize their front seats to like a 7/8 size, and it becomes a little on the small side for someone like myself. This one is comfortable. It doesn't matter if you're larger or smaller, so that's a good sign. Again, headroom is very good. I can adjust the seat up or down. That's not an issue. Let's go back to some of the controls here now and try to show you a few things that the other videos aren't showing you. All right, I don't think I'm gonna move the car. We do have some glare on the screen here. You can see there's all kinds of menus in this car. Now, I won't go through every one in this video because you'll just not want to watch it, but I will say that for the trim of this vehicle, for the price point, you have far more adjustments in this car than you would on many of its competitors. So you can customize all kinds of things like driver assistance, driving aids, parking aids, chassis control. Let's just click into some of those. Trace control, that's a type of traction control system that can help you go through a curve. Instead of having the car understeer, it can apply individual brakes to help you go where you want to steer if there's a bit of a slide. Engine braking is more of the transmission type thing, so we can go back here. Parking aids, we talked about some of them. Cross traffic alert, rear sensors, display. So cross traffic alert is something that you can have the vehicle warn you if someone's crossing your path while you're going back there, while you're backing up, I should say. Driving aids, we'll show you some of them. Emergency brake, lane keeping, so lane warning, sorry, not lane keeping, but it can warn you if you're leaving your lane. Yesterday I was coming to work and a pickup truck driver was looking at his phone and he drifted outside his lane towards me, and I had no way to alert him. His vehicle would have alerted him if he was driving this car. So a nice thing to have. Blind spot warning there is in there as well, which is nice to have. So again, all of these things, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alert, all of these safety features can be turned off individually or all together using that button down there that I can't get the camera to focus on. So good information in here, and that's just one of the driver menus in the driver assistance. There's a whole bunch more in there, so that's good. But let's talk about over here what you have. Again, this vehicle has a CD player. You just never see CD players anymore, which is just funny for me, but that doesn't mean that they bypass current standards. So this is a 7-inch screen, which is a little small compared to more expensive vehicles, but very large compared to what this is. A 7-inch screen that has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So you have to plug in for that on this vehicle, which is still common on many high-end vehicles. You know, sometimes there is wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay in the newest vehicles available. We have some of them here on the lot, but this one here is wired, so that's not a big deal. You plug in your wire or your USB wire there, and you have your cell phone apps moving up to here. So that gives you things like Apple Maps, Google Maps, those kind of things right there for navigation. But what I love is, if you're like me, you're not always plugging it in. Instead of just having a Bluetooth system, you have Siri Eyes Free. So Siri Eyes Free is exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to activate Siri by holding this down, and there's Apple software on your phone that works to give you eyes-free information, eyes-free texting abilities, that kind of thing, without having to have Apple CarPlay involved. So despite the fact you have a CD player, you still have all the fully up-to-date things. Now again, this lower trim level, got air conditioning here. It's not an automatic climate control, so you can turn the fan up or down here. You got your max air right there. You can adjust everything easily, not automatic, but it works just fine. Down here you have a very good CVT transmission. Some CVTs just feel weird to drive. This one doesn't. It does have manual shift options, so I can put it in drive and I can choose my own gears just like that if I wanted to, but most of the time just let it do its own thing. The other thing is it has, I can't remember the exact brand name it's called, but it is something like Quick Heat or Quick Comfort heated seats. So it's a warm in this car, but this car kind of has room temperature seats now. I'm going to turn this on high on a hot day and let you know when it comes alive. So we can turn that on high right now, and we'll talk about a couple other things. So we talked about the soft touch in the back. You still have some soft touch and some style right here, and you have, oh wow, that seat heater is quick. I already feel that seat heater coming on. So yeah, that brand name of that Quick Heat or Quick whatever it is on the thing is absolutely quick. That seat here comes right away. So I'm going to show you this trim here. Let's just go fully wide angle here. Just gives you some style, but it is soft touch in there. There is another USB and 12-volt port down there, so you can connect your phone and other things down there as well. Cup holders, pretty standard stuff. And another thing that camera, remember that camera I showed you at the front, that little V out front? That's up here now. You're going to have that on most cars. On some cars in this class, they have electronics that drift into here and they take away the sunglasses holder. You don't have that issue here. You've also got some pretty cool little white LED lights there that are very small. You can see the size of my finger kind of thing, but the LED gives you that nice crisp clear light. And then when we talk about that camera there, it also has the ability to dim your high beams. So when you have your high beams on, and a car is coming for you, it can automatically dim, and when that car clears, it'll automatically clear. So whether they're coming towards you or up close in front of you, you have some of those safety features right there. The other cool thing they do with the blind spot warning is there's no indicator in your mirror. Where you have an indicator is right inside the vehicle. So you can see that clearly no matter how dirty your mirrors are. If there's a piece of mud or dirt or salt or sand or whatever on your mirror, which you normally have a piece out here to warn you on other cars, you now have that warning light right there in your blind spot detection. So a lot of really cool features in this car. So let's talk about who this car is for, and I already hinted at one potential buyer. If you're in the market for a car like this and you used to buy something like a Sentra, this is a logical move up, and they've really combined a lot of the safety features, technology features, but they've also kept in some of those legacy features like a CD player. So you're moving into a new vehicle with new features without really losing some of the features you used to have. Now again, you can still buy a Sentra, but these are selling better than those, and that's because you've got some practicality here. You've got the ability of an all-wheel drive platform, which is quite nice. It works well in poor weather. It's not meant to be like a Jeep Wrangler and go fully off-road, but it gives you the security and comfort you need. The drive modes are a nice touch to have those in a vehicle like this that allows this car to really fit how you drive, or especially if you have two drivers, it can kind of fit that as well. And it's got a lot of safety items in here, and those safety items is really a big selling point on this car. A lot of people look for safety in a car, but this one steps it up a little bit by giving you the features that some other manufacturers make you charge you more for, or make you move up a trim level that you can get right here. Again, this is the 2020 model. There's a 2022 here as well. There's other ones coming in. So there's lots of things that they've been doing for a while that other manufacturers still aren't doing in their new cars today. And I think the Qashqai represents a really good value. Whether you buy a newer one or a more used one, this one gives you all of the things that you've needed, and they've been doing it for a while. So this is a popular car for good reason. It's got a different name, but it is a really, really good car for most buyers looking for a smaller crossover with all-wheel drive with tremendous value. So if that sounds like you, make sure you swing by Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals, and if you have questions about this car or other cars just like it, make sure you let us know, or let me know in the comment section, because I can come back to you both in the comment section and in future videos. Thanks everybody for watching.